welcome to this week's edition of MMA News. I am coming back from a week off hiatus because I just had stuff going on and I need to sort that all out. So I'm getting right into it. The first thing that happened last week was the Show MMA fight, debut of Strikeforce's equivalent of Show XC. And they had some pretty good fights, and also just a general note on women's MMA. The Show MMA card and the Bellator 7 card both produced tremendous women's MMA bouts, which just demonstrates that women's MMA is on the rise, and that it's not just consisted of Gina Carano and Christiane Santos. So we got that. Also, we had the Maximum Fighting Championships broadcasting a card the day of the Show MMA card, and it's notable because Bobby Lashley competed in it, and he won in fine fashion. This is not like his fight with Jason Guida. This was a fight where he just went out there and destroyed the guy. So he's obviously doing what Brock Lesnar did, getting some matches in before he go to a major promotion. He's still in talks with Strikeforce, and before any of that happens, he's got to go against Bob Sapp June 27th with the I think it's an independent independent fight card. So yeah, there's that. Now, a major note is that Mirko Krokop, actually no, Mirko Filipovic, he's known as Krokop, is going back to the UFC. Now, just for a background, Mirko went to the UFC along with all the major stars when Pride was bought out, and he had a good debut, but then he didn't do so well after that. He got taken out by Gabriel Gonzaga, and then by Czech Congo, and so after those two losses, the UFC let him go, and he decided to go to Dream. So he went to Dream and basically slaughtered a couple guys, but then went against Alistair Overeem. Overeem kept basically kneeing him in the balls, and then no contest, because after 3 or 4 shots he couldn't continue. So that was, but now he's returned to the UFC. Now I personally don't think this is a good move on his part, considering that that many of the world's top heavyweights are currently outside the UFC and are fighting with promotions that don't really hang on to their fighters like they do the UFC. You know, Fedor, Arlovsky, Sylvia, just to name a few of the top 10 heavyweights that are outside the UFC. They're all with independent promotions. And, oh yeah, Barnett too. They're all with promotions that are willing to share fighters, and if Krokop goes back, he's only going to have the crop that he's going to have to fight with. Nogueira, is not by any means a bad fighter. Lesnar's up and coming, obviously. He posed a challenge to anyone. Couture, who's basically coming up on retirement. Frank Mir, guys of that nature. But still, it's at a point where you have to really consider the fact that half of if you want to go against the top heavyweights, Barnett, Arlovsky, Fedor, it's like they're outside the UFC. That's partially why Rank Couture tried leaving, but it didn't happen. So yeah, that's my opinion. Obviously, he doesn't think so, but hey, I'm not his manager. Next, another note is that Takanori Gomi recently fought after back-to-back losses in the World Victory Road promotion and won. He not only won, but he won against the Shuto welterweight champion. Now, for those of you who don't know, Takanori Gomi was briefly the Shuto welterweight champion, which is a weight class of 154. He lost it, had one fight on Rumble on the Rock against none other than BJ Penn. Then he went to Pride, and he became their lightweight champion. Well, after Pride shut down, he stuck around Japan, went to the new promotion World Victory Road, and despite losing in an upset, got a title shot at the newly created World Victory Road title and lost. And this is his first fight since fighting. So you could consider it as his first step to getting back to the big leagues. I don't know if he's ever going to be at that point again, but we can only just wait and see. Also, elsewhere, you have Affliction announcing it. Sorry about that. Also, with Affliction, you have the announcement, the long-awaited announcement of the Fedor versus Barnett fight card. This has been long in the making. And I'm also happy because it's once again gonna be at the Honda Center, so I can go to the weigh-ins again. So there's that. They're also trying to set up a match between Paul Buentello and Tim Sylvia. So another note is that for the June 7th Strikeforce fight card, Alistair Overeem got injured, and stepping in to replace him against Brett Rogers is Andrei Arlovsky. So this is pretty much going to be Brett Rogers' first legitimate test, and it's also going to be a chance for Arlovsky to break into Strikeforce and possibly eventually face off against Alistair Overeem for that title. So we got that. Dreams fight card is coming up next week. I believe it's May 26th. But in the meantime, the major fight this weekend is going to be UFC 98, Machida versus Evans. So the background on this card, Rashad and Machida are both undefeated. Rashad is the champion, Machida isn't. He's had a long... So basically, whoever wins this will definitely have earned his right as a champion. Machida has this interesting fight style where he... he just has an interesting fight style, and he's kind of earned the nickname the Karate Kid, a homage to that old franchise. And then you've got the grudge match between Matt Hughes and Matt Serra, which has been in the making ever since they competed as coaches opposite on The Ultimate Fighter. Obviously, long been overdue. Hughes eventually won out. Serra got injured, so an interim title was created, and Hughes lost to George St. Pierre for the third time. So I think that this is going to be basically the last hurrah for both of them, unless Matt Serra decides to drop back down to lightweight. I think after this he's going to retire, and then he's going to be inducted into the UFC Hall of Fame. Serra, he's either going to drop to lightweight or retire as well. So, yeah, that's it for now. Thanks for listening.